But there's a great deal to talk about, isn't there, today? And it's exceptionally unexpected because the last we saw of Prince Harry there, he was making that lonely flight back from Balmoral. He couldn't have seemed more isolated. He couldn't have seemed more cut adrift. It was as if a schism that was absolutely untraversable was cutting the royal family in two. And then we've had this extraordinary breakthrough this afternoon. So, Daisy, what do you make of it?
I mean, personally, I'm keeping everything crossed that this really is the beginning of the end of the rows.
So am I.
And we all know, no matter what people think of Meghan and Harry and their behaviour, everybody knows this is what the Queen would have wanted.
Yes.
I think we can all assume that. So, therefore, it must be the right thing to do. And we had this incredible... I mean, it was nearly an hour long, wasn't it, Sarah? I mean, 50-minute-long walkabout. And also, did you see how high their shoes were? I mean, that's a lot of effort for women to walk in heels that high. This is Harry, Meghan, William and Kate down the long walk of Windsor, greeting people, hugging people, kissing people. I thought it was wonderful.
So this is what we've been hoping for and I think thought could never happen.
Yes, and I think it's what a lot of people wanted to see, these two brothers in particular, reunited in grief. It's sad that it's taken this to bring them back together. But it reminded me of those images we had in previous years of the Fab Four. All of a sudden we saw them there, standing together. Now, much will be made about the body language as people analyse whether or not this is a real rapprochement or whether it's more of a temporary truce. But to see them together, and what we understand is that William, the new Prince of Wales, had reached out to Harry and Meghan and invited them to join them on
I mean,
this
you might
walkabout.
say that it all started with Prince Charles, now the King, of course, King Charles's speech last night, when I think some people were quite astounded by what he said about Meghan and Harry.
I want also to express my love for Harry and Meghan as they continue to build their lives overseas.
I think that was an amazing interesting intervention, wasn't it, by Charles? Because one of the things that we'd heard about the Queen before her sad demise was that she was very upset about what was going on inside of her family, not just because of Andrew, not just because of Charles, but because of William and Harry, you know, supposedly her favourite grandson and all of that. And you just wonder if maybe suddenly somebody has seen sense, you know, feuds end sometimes, they don't always end, but maybe they just listened to that and thought, you know what, this is what our father wants us to do, let's just do it.
I mean, it's been suggested that William was instrumental here, wasn't he?
Yes, but I think, obviously, in honour of their grandmother's memory, perhaps she has the power, as she united in life, to unite in death and in grief too. And let's hope that this is the start of things to come. What it means now for Harry and Meghan and the memoirs, for example, what that means and whether this changes everything, we'll have to wait and see.
Yes, because on the memoirs, there was stories that William and Charles didn't really want to see Harry until the memoir had been published. Memoir was meant to be coming out at the end of this year, and then there was rumours that because Michelle Obama's memoir was coming out, the two would clash too much. It was, you know, the demographic for the audience or, you know, the readership was too similar and it might be pushed back. So there were all these stories that were swirling around that just seemed to intimate that nothing was shifting. And then this week, this extraordinary breakthrough.
Extraordinary. I mean, I can't stop smiling at the very thought of it.
And Vanessa, also, I think the fact that the Queen died at Balmoral, and that is where the boys were when their mother died, and it was the Queen who was with them, as William made reference to. He said, she's been there for the happiest moments, Granny's been there for my happiest moments of my life and my saddest. And he was clearly talking about that period in Balmoral when the Queen decided it was more important for her to be with the boys than for her to come back and address her people, which, of course, ultimately was probably the wrong decision for the monarchy, but she was putting the boys ahead of them. So all of those emotions will have been swelled up. But I also think there's something, if you look at it from a more cynical or practical point of view, no matter what has happened between Harry and his father, and William and Harry and his father, both Harry and William will want Charles's monarchy to succeed. And it was being damaged before it had even started by this rift. So that will have been, you know, almost in a self-preservation or in a preservation of the monarchy. It was so important now for it to come to an end because their father's monarchy and therefore William's future was being put in jeopardy because of the damage that this was doing to the royal family.
And I'm looking at the body language closely. You said everybody will.
Yeah.
And I'm not a professional body language analyst by any means. However, I've been kicking about this planet quite some time. And actually, to me, it looks fairly congenial. It looks as if they're not pulling away, they're not recoiling. The brothers are standing together. The sisters-in-law are obviously grief-stricken and behaving in a decorous way, but they're not in any way, I don't think, bristling with misery at having to be together. And we've seen the royal family sometimes not able to conceal the body image. Remember Charles and Diana on their tour where it was just quite clear that they were absolutely wretched in one another's company. Well, I don't think that's what was being communicated today at all.
There's a logistical thing here as well, because they've had the Atlantic Ocean between them, and that has meant they haven't had conversations. They certainly haven't wanted to have those conversations over the telephone. They're now finding themselves thrust into the same place. If they can come together and actually sit down and have a conversation, perhaps that could be the start of things.
But until today, Harry and Meghan were living in Frogmore, weren't they? In the cottage, as it's rather benignly called. Biggest cottage I've ever seen. But they were only a few hundred yards away from William and Kate. They didn't go and see them. They went to Manchester, they went to Germany. You know, it was only the Queen's illness and then death that has possibly caused this. And as far as the body language, I wonder whether if they were going to do it properly, basically what they would do is have a little chat beforehand, before they went outside, to you know, get all the ducks in a row and say, look, people are going to be watching us, so you've got to be careful how you look.
But it's
You've
easy
got to be
to
careful.
say and difficult to do. If you really are...
She is an actress, after all.
She is, but Harry isn't. And you saw how wretched he looked only a few hours earlier. And, you know, and when emotions are very raw and people in the crowd are crying, you never know what it is that's going to set you off.